Today we're starting a new classic mid-sized American city here in Easthaven County, Massachusetts. So if you've ever found the process of starting cities a little overwhelming, which I certainly know I have, then tag along as we go step by step through the process of laying down those vital foundations that will make future development that much easier. And of course, right before we begin, I am gonna need a name for this new city. So if you've got a suggestion for a name as well as a bit of backstory, let me know in the comments and then we'll probably have a vote on it. And of course, the first thing to decide on when starting a new city is the location of said city. And if you're loading up a brand new map, then it's usually just a good idea to adhere to the starting tiles already defined for you, because there's usually going to be some infrastructure in place. There might even be some good resources that you can start your initial economy around. Of course, in my case, this is episode 18, I think, of Easthaven County, so it's already really well developed. But fortunately, I just let you guys decide through this particular vote, and you guys voted for this island here, more specifically this bay here as the foundations of the new city. It's located just south of the city of West Point and southwest of the city of Chowder Bay. Now, the first thing I have to do is actually buy the tiles, because as you guys can probably see, I don't really have access to this area just yet. So let's move into our map tiles menu here and take a look. And I need to do some pretty extensive infrastructure development to really prepare for this city, as it is going to outsize the existing cities we have. So I'm thinking of grabbing at least these 9 tiles here. So let's see, we've got an upfront cost of 1.8 million, which is pretty sizable. It's almost a third of our current, cash reserves. And then we've got a tile upkeep of 169k a month almost. Which I guess is also sizable. I don't know if is that like 5k an hour or something. Let's purchase and see. Oh, yikes. Okay, so that's quite expensive stuff. I'm hoping we can turn a profit here pretty quickly, pretty early on, but I doubt it, because I have some extensive rail and highway infrastructure to put in place. But yeah, we'll see. Fortunately, we're still in the green after all the hard work we had to do following the Economy 2.0 patch, so we're probably okay. So we've got several big infrastructure projects to tackle as we lay the foundations of this new city. But I think the first thing I want to start with, and something I always enjoy starting with as it's a really defining thing, is expanding the highway, or in this case the interstate network that's going to serve the city. So we already have Massachusetts Route 28 cutting through the entirety of Easthaven County, including this island here, and it exits out here to the west before it reaches more landmass. We can't see it, but that's just the nature of this map. So that's kind of where I want to start, because I need to upgrade Route 28 to accommodate more traffic, given the fact that within too long we'll have a major city here. I also need to add on and off ramps and new intersections to accommodate this new level of traffic, and of course being able to properly feed traffic to and from the city. So the first thing I want to work on is the bridge here, because I've just used the vanilla 4-lane highway road here, and I want to make a few changes. We're gonna move up here and grab the road builder mod, and then I'm just gonna select this segment here. And what I want to do is just create a 6-lane 2-way highway. So I'm just naming it right out the gate, and then I need to do my editing. So I'm just gonna add an additional car lane on either side, as the name hopefully implies, and then I might even go for a 2-meter wide median here at the very center, just to kind of separate traffic a little more, since we do have 6 lanes of relatively high-speed traffic now. As far as the shoulders go, I might just reduce their width to about 1 meter, so that this road doesn't get too bulky, because I kind of want to see if I can add some custom pillars as well, because this is a bit more boring as far as that bridge version goes. But I think this is a pretty good start. I'm just going to select that and say place more, so that it's now selected. Then we're gonna go for the upgrade tool here, and I am just gonna be upgrading to around this segment here, because I think this little hill we have here is the obvious choice for having our first major off-ramp, kind of branch off from Route 28 here, move into the downtown and just serve the city with traffic access. So of course I am also gonna have to do a little upgrade here, grab the free laner and just upgrade this segment. And I think that looks all right. So to make this a little more interesting as far as an actual bridge goes, I am going to search for a pillar here and find it and see if I can find some sort of wide pillar that I can use. So this one is obviously not wide enough. We've got this 8-lane cable straight bridge pillar though, which seems to be just about wide enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and place it here at the very center where we have this very basic vanilla pillar system underneath the bridge. And I might even, let's see, can I delete? I can actually delete the vanilla pillars we have here at the very center with the beta Bulldozer mod. And then I'm just gonna select this, move it a little closer, and then I'm gonna need to elevate it with move it. And that's probably not good enough, but if we get to something like this, and then we just take a look at how this panned out, I think it looks a little more interesting. We don't have the actual cables here, which is a bit of a shame. The alternative you could do in this situation is unlock the large roads, which I think I'm actually just gonna do. Oops, wrong button. Just gonna unlock those because I have plenty of points. And then I can kind of show what I mean. The alternative we could do is move into large roads and then grab this 6-lane divided extra dosed bridge, which has a really awesome look. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to try this at first and then we can always change. The issue with this bridge is that it's just a regular road, lower speed limits, which we could change with a mod. But I'm pretty sure it's going to, yeah, it's going to force a traffic light here, which I think I can remove with the road services tools, but as soon as I reload the save, I think the traffic light's gonna reappear. So I think for now we're actually gonna go with this. I'll also just be removing these other 2 pillars here in the segments adjacent to the shoreline here, but before I add any of the custom pillars, I want to make sure that I have some proper like sea connections here. So if we open up our transportation menu and move into water, then I'm gonna grab the narrow seaway here, and as we can see as I zoom out, I don't have any connections, and I would like some connections out here if I am to ever build like a cargo port, which was kind of my initial idea at least. So let's just make sure that we can actually get a ship underneath here. I think if we look at this bridge as an example, as well as this one over here, it does indeed look like the bridge here is tall enough. So I basically just need to kind of map out the routes the ships are gonna take. I'm gonna enable Anarchy here because I'm going to move beyond the tiles that I've bought, but I think that's okay. I really don't want to have to buy any more expensive tiles just to get the shipping lanes in place here. So we're just gonna go for something like this, and then we can see we have kind of like a shallow pitch of seabed here. So I'm gonna try and avoid that as much as possible and just get a good connection to the existing sea lanes. And I think that's gonna cut it. Maybe we probably need like an additional connection here. And that's gonna kind of give us a bit of an idea of where we could place these additional pillars here. So let's just find it, we'll search for pillar. We have some of them already showing up. And I might just grab some of these actually and then maybe lowering them. But if they're too tall, it's going to look a little funky. So maybe I'm just gonna go for this very same setup here. Now there's a base here from the existing vanilla pillar that you have to like manually also delete if you want to remove it, but I'm just gonna keep it in place because I think it makes sense to just attach these new pillars to them. We have the very same thing over here. I'm just gonna align this and get that placed, and then of course I'm going to lower these the very same way we did with the central pillar here. So I'm gonna bring this segment right underneath the road. We can see this is lowering the seabed here ever so slightly, but we can just right click here and kind of adjust a small segment here to kind of accommodate that. Just a little change here, and then we don't really have any issues here with the textures. And over here, it's pretty much aligned perfectly from the get-go, so that's perfect. And as we have a look, I think this looks all right. Once again, we're missing the cables, which would be an awesome feature, but I think for now we're gonna keep this setup. We can always change it. Now, of course, a cool thing with having this road builder version here with this 6-lane highway is that we can continue to expand on it. So if we select the road builder mod and select this existing segment, I'm gonna say use as template, and then we're going to move from a 6-lane two-way highway to an 8-lane. Actually, let's go for 7-lane. We're just gonna start getting an async version, 7-lane async version here. So what I want to do here is I want to add an additional lane to this direction here, because this is where I want to branch off with my off ramp, and I would like the off ramp to be 2 lanes from the very get-go to kind of reflect and symbolize the necessity to feed lots of traffic from the already populated areas of Easthaven into the new city here. So we're just gonna do something like this, and then I'm gonna right click and just gonna select this road, go for the upgrade tool, disable snapping, and then just try and align it as much as possible here so that it still fits all right with the pillar, doesn't cause any clipping issues. And then what we're going to do is I'm gonna grab the 4-lane two-way, because this is what we already have in place here, and then I'm going to align it a bit as well, so that we can easily add 1 on-ramp and easily branch out 2 off-ramps. So for now, we're just gonna align 1 segment. I can always redraw this, and then we'll see if we can add these on and off ramps. So we'll be grabbing the regular vanilla 2-lane one-way highway here and just do a little tester here, see how that's gonna look. I'm gonna need a bit of elevation, and then this seems to be the right spot to snap. We'll make sure we have 180 degrees, and we'll move down to about here and then branch out. So there's a bit of a clipping right here, but as soon as I kind of branch out here, everything's fine. It's going to be a slope, a decline of 9.2%, even though we are 10 meters elevated. So I'm just going to bring that to 8.9, and we'll click and see how that looks. It's a little wonky. I might just move it to kind of adjust it a bit, but otherwise it's not too bad. Additionally, I just want to get the off ramp done as well, just to kind of see how that looks. So what I like to do is actually just move in reverse here. So I'm gonna branch out from the highway first, because I think that's just a lot easier. And then we're gonna lower to we're actually just gonna lower to like ground level here, 9%. That's fine. We're gonna click, get that fixed, enable snapping and upgrading, and then just flip the direction and see how that looks. And that actually doesn't look too bad. But once again, probably gonna use move it just to elevate these segments a bit. So hitting M here, gonna find the node and do a bit of manual adjustment. With these early versions of the ramps in place, we can grab the bulldozer, remove the segment here and just redraw it. Just gonna select picker, pick the version here, and then just gonna get the alignment perfect. 180 aligned to the center, and there you go. An additional little change I want to do while we're here is just to make a road builder version of this vanilla 4-lane highway, just to get that 2-meter wide median in there. So we're gonna grab the road builder, select the road, and we're just gonna drop in the median like that, and it's gonna look a little weird, so I may just have to rebuild, although I am just gonna rename it. I'm very creative, so it's gonna be a median 4-lane 2-way highway. Yeah, we'll be removing these segments here to redraw it. Let me just grab this, make sure I upgrade this segment over here first. Get the alignment correct, that looks about right. Grab the symbol curve tool, 180, see if I can get the alignment correct to about here and click. And it is looking a little funky here, so we're gonna try that again. So it seems the median thing is a little finicky to work with, will disappear at some segments. I can kind of adjust it a bit with move it to get it to work, but I think this is fine for now. You guys seeing what I'm seeing? I'm seeing a pretty tricky task with actually getting the railway to cross here without being too low compared to the bridge. And the bridge is about as low as I can go if I want container ships to actually be able to enter. I think so, at least. Yeah, we're gonna save the rail expansion for a little while and continue working on the interstate network instead. Where I think we're gonna need some on and off ramps here, like an intersection of some sort. We've got a bit of like an open valley here where I think we'll need some sort of main road to feed traffic to and from the more densely populated areas in here, and then whatever type of like harbor, port or industrial infrastructure we build out here, where we presumably will generate quite a few jobs and cargo traffic. So let's just pause and see what we can do here. The type of road I'm using, I don't really care too much about that because that is something we can very easily replace. So I just want like the basics in place here so I know what I'm working with. So I've enabled contour lines so I can respect them, slightly respect them at least. And then I think we're just gonna build like a very simple road here to kind of connect underneath, and it's going to eventually feed into the downtown, of course. So I think I'm just gonna make a straight segment here, and that's pretty much gonna be it. The interesting part here, though, is that this is actually quite deep, this valley here, which I guess in turn means that the highway or the interstate that runs here is quite elevated compared to this base road here. So what I may want to do is actually have a segment, an additional main road that serves this area here that actually crosses to allow for easy traffic. So if I move to around this level here and then we just curve this around, so that's -6 degrees, that is fine. And then I kind of want it to actually cross here. So I'm gonna I'm gonna grab the complex curve. I'll move out here. I'll elevate by 10 meters, and then I'm gonna click over here as well, and then we're gonna bring it down if I can at least. Oh, it's gonna be tricky without Anarchy. Oh, is this? No, that's gonna create a crossing, and that's not really what I want, but this should be fine. There you go. And then we're gonna enable the simple curve and just have this road kind of continue in this general direction here. Without having too much of an elevation. So I'm gonna drop that down and just kind of get that to follow the contour lines we have here. Something like this. And then we just need to connect it all up, which is obviously going to be more complex than if we went for a simpler solution. But I think when the city is starting to establish and we have traffic here, we are going to thank ourselves that we made some of the more complex stuff up front, because like I mentioned earlier in the episode, it's always more tricky to retrofit complex infrastructure than to like just build it at the very beginning. So I'm thinking what we want to do now is create some off ramps from Route 28 to this elevated avenue that runs across here, and the ground level avenue that runs across here, so that we have connections to both. That's gonna look really interesting, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to build. So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna upgrade this segment here to a 4-laner, this one to a 3-laner. We may go for a 3-laner throughout, but this is just where we're gonna start. And I wanna do the same thing over here, and we'll probably have to do it already at this segment here. Get some proper off ramps going. And it of course means that all the infrastructure we built here is going to have a massive footprint, which is very, very American, which is a very American thing to do. And that is what we're kind of aiming to achieve here, you know. So we're going to find 180 right about there. And then we're just going to bring this out in a very smooth manner. And we know this one is elevated by 10 meters, which means that if we elevate this one by, let's see, if we just do an elevation of 5, then actually I guess I actually want it to be ground level at first so that it can split off rather quickly. And what I mean by that is that if we make this segment here, then we can easily split these, we can branch these into 2. So this one is just going to connect straight down here to this particular avenue, but the other segment here is going to be elevated to, you know, it's eventually going to be 10 meters, right? So if I just go for 10 meters, just want to find 180 here, go for 10 meters elevation, and then bring that into this road here. And it's going to be so cool if we can kind of do it underneath all this complex stuff. And I'm trying not to enable Anarchy, because then at least I'm certain that there is enough you know, there's enough elevation, or sorry, there's enough space for cargo traffic to actually cross all these lanes. But I'm also certain that my pillars won't be clipping into other roads. So let's just see how this looks. It looks cool. Cool and complex, which is pretty much exactly what I'm going for here. And of course down here we are going to give this piece of the interstate the exact same treatment. So I'm gonna 180, 179 I think is fine. And then we're just gonna have a little segment here, just enough space for us to split them. There you go. We'll grab the outermost lane, and just as we did on the opposite side, we're gonna connect that down here. We might even split this and create connections like this, but that'll have to wait. We're gonna get the most complex parts done first. And once again, we're gonna find, let's see, can I find, there's 180. Elevate this to 10 and bring that in here. And I'm really hopeful I can get this connection in place so that it's a single intersection we're creating here. And it seems to actually be possible. And it is certainly starting to look interesting now. Now we just need to get the on-ramps going. So we're gonna start here, getting the on-ramps on the, what is this? This is the western and northern direction of Route 28. Let's see, we'll probably need to branch out around here at the very least. Actually, I think I'm just gonna get, yeah, that's not what I meant to do, but I guess it works. I just needed another node in place, basically. So I guess, yeah, it works. That we can just remove this odd piece. We've got that in place. Let's have a look over here on the other side. We need to upgrade to... This might be okay, depending on where we actually branch off from this segment here. Because this one is gonna run underneath, so that should be fine. So maybe this is gonna work. We're gonna start here and then see if we need to bring it back a bit, because I wanna keep the elevations kind of in check. I don't want to go more than like -10 plus 10%, ideally at least. We've got this prepared now, and I've mentioned it before, but I like to always branch out from the actual highway, because I feel that's the easiest solution. And then I'll simply just be reversing the direction of this road here. So let's see if I can just get, yeah, I actually have to kind of branch out already. So in this case here, the innermost lane is the one that merges onto the elevated avenue. So we might actually just keep that scheme intact. But I think in this case here, we might as well just branch out from down here. So I want to go underneath like this. And then maybe with a complex curve, I can get it all fixed up. So one click here and one click here to align. And then the final one to get this all set up. And that doesn't look too bad. And then of course we need this particular connection here, the elevated one. So let's just see how this is gonna work. If we do a click, and can we do in, actually maybe we should just do 2 clicks and get the connection into place, and then we'll just flip that direction. And yeah, I'm a little interested to see how this looks. It's not too bad actually. It's not too bad. I guess we could kind of center all of this to have like one major intersection here where we could get all the branches going, but I think for now this is okay. I might change it. And then over here I think we're gonna do something a little more special, because in this case we have a ground level segment here, and this is obviously ground level as well. So I think the easiest solution here would just to be, you know, make a direct connection here instead of like an elevated segment. Which we probably could have done over here as well. So yeah, we might revert that. I probably will, because I like the complex stuff, but this seems like needlessly expensive, even for US highway planning in the 1960s, where I imagine most of this is built. This seems a little too complex almost. So I'm just gonna get a small segment going here and disable snapping right about there, and I might just enable snapping, flip that immediately so I can make an easy connection. Then we'll grab the slope tool and let's see. So this is, just gonna make this a little smaller. So this is 882 meters and 893. So if I right click here, then that is going to be 12 degrees. That's a little much, but if we move to down here, we are below the 10. So I'm just gonna kind of flatten this in a curve and see how this works out. So I'm gonna go complex here, enable the contour lines, of course. We're gonna move up to the side here. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Did I grab complex curve? I did. So I can do 1 click. I can do 2 clicks, enable snapping, and then just connect straight up. That looks super funky. I like it. The other segment here, I think we're just gonna do a little smoothing here, making sure we got a proper slope. And we'll very much just do the same thing. Complex curve, just clicking here and here. And then let's see if we can bring this in without any anarchy. Yeah, we're enabling anarchy, cheaping out to get this placed. And then I'm just gonna check and see how that actually pans out. So let's just move, I'm gonna disable snapping here. Let's just move that to around here, enable snapping, and seeing if I can connect this with like a symbol curve. Doesn't have to be perfect. I can adjust it with move it. That looks all right. I will probably just use move it to kind of lower this. I guess it's because I actually, you know, I created the slope here. I made this a little more smooth, but of course I don't really have to do that. There you go. And while we're at it, I am going to revamp this segment here as we discussed. So we're gonna utilize this existing intersection we have, and then I need to get it connected up here, and then we'll branch from somewhere here up to this segment here. So let's just, once again, we'll use the slope tool. If I right click here, then there's 16% to this area, so that's not gonna work. But as we reach this level, we are at around 9, which is pretty much what we want. So I'm just gonna smooth my way up here. And then this should be a very simple connection. up to snapping. Oh, why is that 13%? I was certain it would be less, given the terraforming we did. 12%, all right. It creates retaining walls because this is a pretty low segment. I'm just gonna try and smoothen some of the terrain out here and see how this actually looks. Because then I guess I don't mind. Grab the tree brush, disable the snapping selection, sorry, and just removing all the trees here. And then I think I'm gonna upgrade these segments here to these 4-lane highway pieces. Maybe just all the segments that are in here between the on and off ramps. So right till about here. And for this segment in here, we might use the custom version where we have the median as well. And I mean, rhetorical question, have you ever seen anything this beautiful and messy? And a waste of space? I don't think so. Except if we add even more lanes, of course, that would make it even more beautiful. So maybe we should just upgrade a few of these ramps at least to just get a second lane in place, so that you can get to the roads you need a little easier. So just gonna do a little upgrading here. Let's see. Oh, that actually adds a lane all the way up here. I'm not sure I want that. So let's just add an extra node to right about here. Get our upgrade in place. Yoink. And yep. Does this need 2? That's a little excessive. Then I'd need to make this a 5-laner and this we could do that. Let's just check how that looks. I'm not sure I've used the 5-laner stuff before, actually. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh man, this is a beefy thing we're building here. Just get the alignment as good as I can. Oh, that creates a bit of chaos, but that's actually all right. What a monster this is. And as the very final touch, I've added some bushes just for good measure, and I'll be upgrading these single laners here to just have an additional lane for easier access to the elevated avenue here. And I think that is going to be it for this particular intersection here. Wow, yeah. Let's move on. We've got some on and off ramps here that I'll obviously need to connect. So I need some sort of road to connect very directly to downtown. But I'm thinking we might also just grab the avenue we have here and kind of let that follow the coastline here, cross underneath this bridge, and probably get some complex infrastructure going here as well to get a good connection to this route as well. So to achieve that, I am just gonna start with this particular road here. We're gonna bring that around, enable contour lines, maybe get a straight segment for once in this new city. Segment here, maybe even getting an additional one till about this area here, and then we'll need to curve alongside the shoreline here and move north. And this should be an easy connection. As well as this one. Just find the guidelines we're snapping on, and it's connected. Yeah, you know what? I can't realistically create anything complex here before I have the rail line and the rail bridge sorted out. So yeah, it's the elephant in the room. I can't hide from it anymore. I need to get this project sorted. So I think one thing I am going to do, which is going to enable this in the first place, is I'm going to remove the C lanes we placed early on in the episode, because they're really not all that necessary. We have plenty of access underneath the existing bridges here, but we also have direct access to the Atlantic Ocean if we just connect these two up here, and plenty of access in here. So unless we are really insisting on making things harder for us, there's just no reason to actually have the access here. So let's just go ahead and grab the narrow seaway, go for continuous, and then I'm just gonna make sure it snakes its way through the passages here and connects up to either side of this existing sea lane, and that is pretty much gonna cover all our needs. And then for the actual train bridge. So for the wacky idea, the first thing I'm gonna do is simply bring these train tracks across, and I'm just gonna go in a straight line here, 180 degrees all the way over here, and I don't want too big of a drop in elevation because I ideally want freight rail here as well, 2.4%. I mean, I guess that's fine. We could probably also lower it a bit to let's just go for 2.6, and I'll make sure that it's aligned 180 degrees, and I'll just be placing that. Now, obviously, this is going to require me to adjust the pillar setup we have here, and I think I've got a bit of a fun idea here, so I'm just going to remove that completely. Yeah, currently it looks a little funky, but don't worry, we'll get that fixed. Now, the first fun thing I want to try here is we don't have like a dedicated rail bridge, which is a bit of a shame, and it's something that's always kind of annoyed me over here. Like, we just have this super elevated, very narrow looking segment here next to this nice looking road bridge here. So I think something I want to try is, and I haven't tried this before, so we'll see. I want to grab one of the road bridges, build that next to the elevated rail segment, and then see if I can move it to kind of place the road bridge below the rail segment, and see if that will actually look like a bridge structure thingy. Yeah, whatever. I'm placing this and then we're gonna try it out. So let me just select all the nodes here, because there's likely gonna be quite a bit of move it manipulation to get this in place. Then I'm just gonna move it underneath the train bridge here, or elevated segment, whatever we're gonna call it. We're gonna turn it into a bridge now, that's for sure. Just make sure it's perfectly aligned, at least as perfect as I can get it. Something like this. And then we'll need to adjust the height. So if I move this down so that this fence segment here disappears. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna work. This is gonna be interesting stuff, that's for sure. Alright, so after quite a bit of tweaking, this is how it currently looks. It's a little... oh yeah, it's a little wonky here. I mean, you wouldn't really want this metal structure to be below the surface, I guess. But, I mean, let's just see how this actually looks. We're gonna use the Better Bulldozer mod to get rid of the existing pillars here. That is hopefully going to make it all look a little nicer. So I've just subjected myself to the off-camera joy of making sure that there's not the same drop in elevation here, so that the bridge actually makes sense. There's still a bit of stuff hitting the surface water here, but I think this is fine, and it's actually looking quite nice. Of course, this leaves us with another issue, because yeah, the highway bridge here is looking pretty crazy. Some very, very impressive engineering taking place here. Gonna need to find a solution for that, and I'm kind of inspired to try to do the same thing, because there's this particular bridge, the 6-lane divided extra dosed bridge, which we have already talked about in this episode, and I kind of want to try and see if I can squeeze that underneath. If I can squeeze that underneath this bridge here as well. So I'm just mapping out a few segments so that I get 3 big pillars here. And then I'm gonna grab move it, and I think I wanna bend these middle segments so that I can easily actually grab them with move it, because if I just move the bridge underneath here, then it's gonna be a little tricky to actually know what I'm selecting with move it. So I'm just gonna bend the bridge here, and then of course I'll need to align these nodes here perfectly underneath the existing highway here. So this is about as good as that's gonna get. We'll move this in here, and yeah, this is gonna be a little tricky, something like that. We'll move this in here, and I hope I have sort of the same distance between each node. I probably don't, but yeah, we'll see. And this one moving in here, and then I'm just gonna lower this so that I don't have any clipping, and I'm gonna elevate this just where I don't have any clipping. Same over here, and same deal over here. All right, it looks like a real piece of art currently. Now I should be able to grab these segments and then carefully try and align so that the pillar is at this very center, because remember, we do have a thicker median on this road builder. Oh yeah, I'm picking the wrong thing now. Oh, tricky stuff. I only have one shot at doing this. That's becoming painfully obvious. And moment of truth. I mean, it just about works. There's some slight micro adjustments I can do to make it even better, but I'm actually quite pleased with how this turned out. And oh, look at this. It's actually working. The pillars here are actually functioning. Ooh. Yeah, this will pass. This will pass for now. Now, I think the main issue for me now is, what's the actual story behind this? You know, it's pretty weird. I think I'm gonna add some old pillars from the old road bridge that used to cross here before the highway cut its way through everything. So let me see. I'm gonna grab not this one because it kind of clips, but this pillar here. Then we're gonna go for line mode, and I think I'm gonna set the distance to like 45 meters or something. And then I'm gonna imagine that there used to be like an old national road here that also crossed before it was demolished to put this highway in place here. So I'm just gonna kind of line it like this, and is that enough distance? Probably gonna go for 40. I don't want too many of the pillars to still be here. I'm not really sure why they haven't been removed, but I mean, whatever. I'm just gonna place all of these. We're gonna grab move it, and then of course I'm gonna adjust it somewhat to the height of do I just want these stops to be like the final thing here? I guess I do. So I'm just gonna adjust to this height, and I'm gonna select the rest if I can find them on the, oh, it's very deep here. And then we're gonna say to object height and click this one. And we now have the remnants of the old road bridge here before this mastodon interstate bridge was built. That looks kind of cool. Now, to complete the passenger rail infrastructure, I kind of need to place the main central station, which is a little earlier than I had expected. I'm gonna grab the vanilla train station. I'll do extensive upgrades to it and probably, you know, do some better bulldozing and clip some stuff into it to make it look even nicer. But I kind of need to place it somewhere, and I want it to be a terminus station. So, you know, the trains, they kind of end here. I may have like a single line that traverses to the west to serve some suburban stuff we might build up there, but for now it's gonna be a terminus station. And I think placement wise, I want to do something like this. And I think just by placing this, it's also gonna help me map out the road layout, because it's, you know, I'm kind of forcing at least some design decisions just by placing the train station. Just gonna place it, and I'll need to do all the upgrading and stuff, but I'm gonna wait a bit for that because I'm gonna start bleeding money real soon, I think. But this should enable me to get this connected up here, create like a small rail yard. I'll need to get some tracks out here, maybe out here as well to serve, you know, freight rail. So let's just grab the double train track here and see what we can do. Once again, I want to be a little careful with, you know, elevation wise. So 5 is definitely not gonna cut it. 2.6, that's all right. Oh, we're still 10 meters elevation. Ooh, this is gonna be a little tricky actually. So I think 2.8, I can live with that. I think that's okay. Maybe not the most realistic for freight at least, but you know, let's see if I can get this connection here then. 3.4. Maybe I should just have a look at how it looks visually and see if that's okay. I think that is okay. Okay without being perfect. We're gonna grab the complex curve here, I think. Branch out to about here, see if I can get a pretty connection going. Yeah, very pretty. I'm gonna try a different approach here, I think. Just gonna splice that in quickly, and then I'll use Move It to get that all sorted out. But this is probably a pretty decent start. I'll have some bypass tracks so that I can actually get over here to the freight segment as well. Let's just call it a temporary thing, just to get this in place, kind of get a feel of where we want to place it. Let's build some more highways. Alright, so we've got yet another intersection in place and added a bit more highway infrastructure here. Now I want to look into some freight rail. I guess I'm still kind of undecided on whether to make this a terminus or a through station, because I kind of want to maybe have some freight rail out here as well. Not really decided yet on whether it's going to be freight rail or some kind of wealthy suburb or something like that. But I definitely want freight rail on this side of the Massachusetts Route 28. So there's kind of two approaches we can take here. I can try and branch off here, and then I have to kind of cross this mess, which I might do eventually just for the challenge of it. But something else I want to do is actually branch off all the way back here, where we merge from 3 train tracks to just 2. And I kind of want to move across this small island here and maybe make a crossing down here, because maybe, just maybe, we might have some industry here as well, like a small rail yard of the sort or something like that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of Willow Lane here. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, sorry. And then I kind of want to use the small hill here as our kind of ramp to get across, to get into this island here with some train tracks. So I think I'm also going to remove this segment here, because I kind of want to do something a little more interesting here than just branch these together in a simple fashion. So we're grabbing the double lane train track here. Let's enable contour lines. Things are looking all right as we try to get ourselves out here on this this ramp here. Maybe I should do the crossing first, actually. Yeah, maybe I should do the crossing first. Something like this. Yeah, -6. That's not gonna cut it. I think we'll stay below 3%. That should kind of keep me in the clear, I think. Can I go to ground level here? Do I want to? Because I need to kind of elevate down here to actually cross. Not sure. Actually, let's just keep it. Let's keep it at 8.75 meters, and then I'm gonna turn this island here into a bit of a hilly place so that it's not all elevated. Anyways, we'll grab our symbol curve tool here, 0 meters elevation, and just try and drag this into place. Something like this. A very simple setup. I think I'll be removing the fake cul-de-sac here, as well as these houses. We'll grab the single track here, and I'll just try to kind of merge it into this dual track here as seamless as I can. So I kind of need to move a bit beyond it, not that far. Slightly finicky stuff. Is that gonna work? We can use move it to kind of sort that out, but I think that's gonna be fine for now. And for good measure, we're actually going to enable this connection as well. 2.3%. I think that's just fine. And yeah, always enjoy building more rail infrastructure. Not a train expert by any means, it's just a lot of fun. Now let's see over here. What I want to do is I want to grab the shift terrain tool and just elevate this ever so slightly, because then I start getting the contour lines for where the track actually is. So I'm hopeful that if I just right click here, then that's going to flatten it to the level of the track, or close to at least. So let's just make this a bit of a little hilly island here. Maybe with some cliff sides and whatnot. So I'm just gonna do some rough terraforming at first, something like this, and then just move in and kind of smoothen it out a bit. Then we'll get rid of the tracks up till about this point here. And now if I just go straight through this segment here with 0 elevation, then we're actually we don't have any elevated segments anymore, which is perfect, because then I might just do the actual rail yard here that I just mentioned. I think it would be fun to have like a small industrial island. There's this, what's it called, island in Miami, which is also just industrial. It's called Dodge Island or something like that. Pretty interesting place, I think. Let's just get a few bushes in here. Are we really doing another custom train bridge here? I think we are. Right? Right. Double train tracks. We'll go for a curve, a simple curve, right out to about here. And then let's see. 10 meters, 3.2. That is too much. 2.9. 2.7. 2.8. 2%. I'll go with that, and then we'll do a straight segment without any elevation changes. And then we'll figure out whatever we need to figure out over here. I think we're, yeah, something like this. We'll see how that works out. Kind of want to do a custom bridge here though. So let's see, maybe using one of these pillars here as kind of have it in the very center here. So to do that, we are gonna grab the segment here with the road builder mod, and then what if we add an empty lane in between? That's actually pretty cool. Let's call this, I'm so creative, we're doing a median double train track, and this is a bridge segment, so you can't go all that fast. And it's concrete here in the center, which I think is probably pretty fitting considering what we want to do here. Let's select that and just say place more, and get at least a few of these going. Maybe something like this is fine. Then we'll grab move it, we'll select manipulation mode, because we certainly need to fix these these nodes here. We kind of need to drag them out, you know, make this transition a lot smoother than it currently is. And that's probably fine. We'll move over here where we need to do the same. Why is this elevated? Anyways, we'll try to do the very same thing here. See just how much we can kind of smooth the transition out here without it. Yeah, I don't want it to look odd, of course. Something like this. I think that'll do for now. Get rid of a bush or two. We probably need to make this even smoother. I know. But for now, I just want to kind of test out my idea here. So now we have a median here for the train tracks. Open find it, always searched for pillars. And I need something with like a slim centerpiece. Oh, I wonder if this would do. Like 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna try this. So we'll place one here, I think. I don't know if it's perfectly aligned. And then do I just need 2? I think I just need the 2 actually. Actually, I'm gonna go for 3. That's gonna look better. We'll have one here and then about the same distance. So that would be over here. I think I'm kind of winging this. That isn't obvious. It looks almost the same distance. I think this one is. I probably have to move this a little further over here. Yeah, something like that. And let's drop this down to kind of hide that element, and we'll move this up. And we'll drop this down till about here, just so it's hidden, and then we'll grab better Bulldozer and see if we can bulldoze the existing pillars here. We can, and then the interesting part is how does this actually look? I mean, it looks pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting setup, but I just like to do kind of new stuff, you know? So I think we're keeping this for now. And I think that's going to be a wrap. We have a pretty good start here. We pretty much achieved everything we set out to achieve initially. So we've obviously have some pretty adequate highway access to the I-25, the main interstate cutting through all of Easthaven County. We have rail access specifically for the passenger train station to feed traffic to and from the city core. We also have freight rail access so that we can start building out a substantial freight network and cargo stations for the future ports. Pretty much everything is laid down in place now, and there's not much of a city here, obviously, but getting this infrastructure in place is going to help frame the city, and it's going to help us that much more when we probably in the next episode start mapping out much of the road layout here, because we already have not only, you know, geographical boundaries to adhere to, we also have some infrastructural boundaries now we can adhere to. And I hope it goes without saying that I'm really looking forward to you guys' suggestions for the name of this city. You guys always come up with some just great names, but also usually some really great stories. So that's going to be really interesting. And of course, as always, if you have other suggestions, not just for a name, but for specific things you want to see in the city, then please let me know. I'm going to be all ears. My initial thoughts are that we're going to take inspiration from Boston in particular. So we're going to go for a very, very European feeling, almost road layout, kind of chaotic, not, you know, kind of organically grown as well. And kind of move from there with some really small blocks and some very narrow one-way streets with skyscrapers crammed in and whatnot. But that's just my general thinking. So if you've got other ideas or suggestions, then yeah, let me know. I'm going to wrap up with a few cinematics as per usual. And then I just want to thank you guys so much for all the support and all the feedback. I'm happy to be back in it after a few weeks following my wedding. And yeah, I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.